Hey guys, I'm back. Welcome back to the Fox Critic. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a movie review on No Time to Die. This is the 25th James Bond film and the fifth and final one to star Daniel Craig as James Bond. It was released in 2021, and we've been waiting for this movie for a long time. Obviously, it got delayed multiple times. It was originally meant to come out in like March 2020, and then April 2020 and stuff. And then the pandemic just constantly delayed it. And then I think it got pushed forward once as well. I think it was like late October here in the UK, and then it got pushed forward to September 30th. So it's had its release date changed quite a lot. But finally it has come out, and I didn't think it would ever come out, but it has finally done so. This film stars Daniel Craig, Rami Malek, and Leah Seydoux. In this film, James Bond has left active service from MI6 and is enjoying a peaceful, tranquil life out in Jamaica, but his peace is short-lived when Felix Leiter, an old friend from the CIA, shows up asking for his help to stop a new villain who is armed with extremely dangerous new tech. We have been waiting so long for this movie, like nearly 2 years for its movie's release, nearly 2 years after its original release date. And I'm very lucky having seen it fairly early. Like the release date, the premiere, the preview of the film was on Wednesday, and I saw it yesterday, which was Friday. So I saw it fairly early, and I'm very glad I saw it quite early. Without further ado, let's begin with this review, and let's start talking about the positives of the film. And one of the things to talk about with this film is that with all the other Daniel Craig Bond movies, you may have noticed a pattern with the quality of the films. Casino Royale, his first one, absolutely brilliant James Bond film. Still my favorite Bond movie. Quantum of Solace, which came after Casino Royale, not very good. Skyfall, which came after Quantum of Solace, brilliant Bond film. And Spectre, which was the fourth one, was not good at all. So with his movies, there's been a good one, a bad one, a good one, bad one, basically. So obviously now we do a good one. And is this film a good one? I can say yes, it is a good James Bond movie. Does it reach the heights? Does it reach the quality of Casino Royale and Skyfall? Personally, I do not think it does. I think it's not as brilliant of a film as Casino Royale and Skyfall were, but it's absolutely not as much of like a bad film as like Quantum of Solace and Spectre were. I mean, I don't necessarily hate Quantum of Solace and Spectre, but just they're two of my least favorite Bond movies, so this one is just nowhere near as bad as those films, but it isn't quite as brilliant as Casino Royale and Skyfall, but it is still a great James Bond movie. First of all, I really want to talk about the action of the film, because one of my biggest problems with Spectre, I said in my ranking of all 24 James Bond movies, when I put Spectre at the bottom of my list, because that's my least favorite James Bond movie, I think I quite like the action of that film, but I have no idea what I was talking about then, because I really do not like the action of Spectre whatsoever. But the action in this movie is absolutely great. It has some of my favorite action sequences inside of the entire Bond franchise, or maybe at least just for Daniel Craig Bond movies, but particularly the opening few ones with the ones that involve the Aston Martin DB5 are some of my favorite scenes of this entire movie. Like the score goes so well with it. Hans Zimmer's score in this movie is absolutely fabulous. I really loved the soundtrack and the score in this movie. I thought it was great. And all the action is very enjoyable. It's got some really nice fight scenes in there. And it is a lot better than the action in Spectre, and I think the soundtrack, like I said, goes really well alongside it. And the action is a big step up from the action scenes in Spectre. So yeah, on the action front, this movie absolutely delivers in my opinion. The cast here is very good. I think Daniel Craig's performance here is, I think he's just an amazing James Bond. He is my second favorite James Bond actor. I think he is really good here in the role this time, and I just think he gives a great final performance as James Bond here. One of my absolute favorite things about this movie is that it feels like a proper finale to the Daniel Craig's James Bond movie tenure. Like obviously there is this big storyline going on throughout all of Daniel Craig's James Bond movies. And this really just concludes it and just culminates that story very well, in my opinion. And it does a good job of feeling like a proper finale. It feels like the Avengers Endgame of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. And obviously this is a spoiler-free review, but this movie has got a couple of twists and turns in there. And just it feels like a proper finale to the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, and that's an element I really enjoyed about it. originally I was hoping they wouldn't reboot, because obviously Daniel Craig's James Bond movies are, like a reboot of James Bond, and I was originally hoping they wouldn't reboot Bond after this one, but now I actually wouldn't mind if they did, because this feels like a really satisfying finale to the four Bond movies that have come before this, and I really really enjoyed that element about it. But yes, I would be if you haven't seen this film yet and you are passionate about the film and you want to go and see it, I would be extremely careful, going on the internet and looking into this film, because to just be very very careful, because like there are some pretty, like I said, there's some twists and turns in this movie, and you do not want anything spoiled. So up until you see this movie, I would be very very careful about your time online looking into this film. But yes, this film, just I really enjoyed that element, how it felt like a proper finale to all of Daniel Craig's James Bond movies. One final thing I want to talk about here is that the cinematography for this movie is absolutely gorgeous. I thought Skyfall and Spectre look brilliant with their cinematography, in my opinion, and they have some great shots. But like, this movie is even better than both of those, in terms of it, just the way it looks. The locations are amazing, and it's just a very great movie to look at, because just so many shots are so well done, and the cinematography is so nice. So overall, No Time to Die, the film we've been waiting for absolutely ages, really delivers as a James Bond movie. It makes effective use of the it does have, some pretty familiar formula in here, and it's not as formulaic as Spectre in my opinion, but it makes really effective use of it. It has great action, way better than the action in Spectre, and it has more action in Spectre. I really enjoyed that. The cinematography is amazing. Daniel Craig is on point here as James Bond, and just the rest of the cast is really good. The score, in my opinion, is amazing, and there's just so much to like about this movie, and it is a really really enjoyable James Bond experience. So overall, those are my positives about the movie, and there are some issues with the film. So let's start talking about the negatives of the film, and just quick thing I want to say here is that I hoped this movie would have a good gun barrel, and this movie probably has a better gun barrel than Inspector Skyfall and Quantum of Solace. And it is fairly unique. It does play at the start of the film, which is good. But like I don't really want to just spoil the gun barrel in case you haven't seen it. I will make a spoiler review, later on soon. I'll talk about the gun barrel a bit more then, but it looks a bit weird, and I think the way it looks is to sort of set the scene for the shot that follows, and I quite like that element of it. I quite like Daniel Craig's James Bond, I like his sort of pose, or his gun stance. I think that's good, but I don't really think it's one of my favorite gun barrels. I do really like the gun barrel music for it though. This movie is the longest James Bond movie ever made. As I think like 2 hours and 46 minutes. It's nearly 3 hours long. I think it's around sort of 2 hours 46 minutes. But I think that is one of the biggest mixed elements of the film. I do think that is a pretty mixed aspect. Because, well, with Spectre, you could feel the long running time, with Spectre. And this movie kind of it flies by for some of it. For the majority of it, but then some other scenes you can sort of feel the running time a little bit. But for the most part, it flies by and it doesn't feel like nearly 3 hours long. But the runtime does result in the film being a little bit overstuffed with plot. And that isn't really the movie's fault, because that is the result of trying to conclude a story that has been going on for four films, and this movie is the finale of all that. And it does result in quite a bit of an overstuffed plot. That's really not the movie's fault though. I think that is the result of trying to conclude a storyline that has been going on throughout all four of Daniel Craig's James Bond movies. I think that's the result of that, and like I said, this is the big finale of that, and I think it was kind of inevitable with it being kind of overstuffed with plot, if it was trying to conclude the previous four Bond movies. That's what I think of it. I think it has a bit too much plotting going on at times, but that's really not the movie's fault. The villain in this movie could have been a lot better. I really did not like the villain in this film. Like, really, he's just kind of uninteresting. Like, he's sort of like mysterious at points, and you're like wondering what's going on with his character, but the movie never really takes time to explain his character that well. He does have this really cool like evil lair in the film, which is reminiscent of a lot of older Bond movies. And one of the great things about this film is that it is reminiscent of there are a couple like nods and like sort of references to previous Bond movies, with like on Her Majesty's Secret Service and stuff, and the evil lair is reminiscent of the one in You Only Live Twice. But the villain himself, I don't think he was all that good. I thought he was just kind of a dull, boring villain. Another thing to say here is that most of the action scenes in this movie, while they are really, really good, a lot of them are already seen in the trailers. Like most of the action scenes are already put in the trailers. So if you have watched any of the movie's trailers, don't expect that many new or different action scenes to the ones seen in the trailers. But the action is still very, very good here. Another thing to say here is that Anna de Armas' character in the film is particularly underused. I think she's mostly just only seen for the first like sort of hour of the film, and then she's never really mentioned again. And I think she was a character with a lot of potential, and she was advertised a lot in the film, in the trailers, and on the posters. But she isn't really in the film all that much. And one final thing to say here, is that the ending of this film, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending of this film is absolutely, it's going to be the most divisive thing in the Bond fandom since the film License to Kill. That's all I'm going to say about it. But overall, what do I think of No Time to Die? I think it is a great James Bond film. I do not think it reaches the heights of Casino Royale or Skyfall, but it's absolutely way better than Quantum of Solace and Spectre, and I'm very happy to say that it continues the pattern and, I guess concludes it with, being a good Craig Bond movie, a bad Craig Bond movie, and then a good Craig James Bond movie, then a bad Craig Bond movie. This one is a really, really good one. It's enjoyable. The action is spectacular. It's got some really impressive stunts in there as well. There's some really nice sort of nods and references to older James Bond movies and classic Bond, and I really enjoyed that element about it. And this is probably the most funny like Daniel Craig James Bond movie. I don't really laugh at any of the humor, but like it's still got like the old fashioned James Bond quips in there. And if you've been invested in the Daniel Craig James Bond storyline going on throughout all four of his movies, like I have, I recommend this one. The storyline is a bit overstuffed, and the villain is basically just wasted potential. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this Bond movie. So I'm giving No Time to Die a well-deserved 8.5 out of 10. I just thought it was a really enjoyable, really great Bond movie, and I'm super glad how this film subverted my expectations, because I wasn't even expecting it to be all that great originally, but I'm really glad that it was great. It is a satisfying conclusion to the Daniel Craig James Bond era. I'll be sad to see his Bond go, but I'm really glad that the filmmakers sent off his Bond in just a very satisfying way, and I cannot wait to see this movie again, because obviously I'm not seeing this movie only once, so I can't wait to watch it in cinemas again. But that was my spoiler-free review of No Time to Die. I will make a spoiler review, not necessarily a spoiler movie review, but just a video talking about the spoilers of the film a little bit more, and basically just a spoiler review. I don't know when that'll happen, maybe in a week's time or maybe in a couple days, I don't know, just, I maybe once I've seen the film again, but I will make a spoiler review at some point, but I just don't know when. But for now, thank you very, very much for watching this movie review. If you have been lucky enough to see this movie already, if you have seen this movie, feel free to let me know down in the comments, what you thought of it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this review. If you did enjoy it, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to. Let me know what you thought of the film, and until next time, bye bye.